deserves deportation. Charles and William stop them. The dangers that Harry and Meghan cause. The Queen spent her life doing so many amazing things. There is not another woman on this earth that we could possibly compare with her. The whole world adores the woman, and according to an insider, before her death she had, along with King Charles and William, made plans and laid out the direction for the future, and she set an example for them to aspire to. But just a week ago, Meghan threatened the Queen and her family again. But now the whole world understands that Harry and Meghan are absolutely despicable, and people will never forget them threatening the Queen right up until her death. On the day of the Queen's death, Meghan was not allowed to go try to see her, and even Harry was not included on the flight that was carrying the other family members to Balmoral. To keep on threatening and telling vicious lies about the royal family after the world has lost the Queen is going to make them look even worse, and it's going to cause even more people to despise them. But any attempts by Meghan and Harry to try to weasel their way back into the royal family are going to be stopped by King Charles, if the comments that he made in that speech are any indication. Once again, the Queen showed us all how wise and discerning she really was. She outplayed Meghan yet again, and that's not a good thing, because Meghan's gonna come up with something else to try to put all the attention back on her, exactly the same as she tried to do with the service for Prince Philip. Next, there's a strange thing that Meghan hasn't made a public statement mentioning that her children are left at home. Perhaps somebody needs to go there and just check out the situation. Maybe we can finally learn if there are any real kids or not. Somebody needs to convince Meghan that it is in her best interest to just head back to California. Don't worry about staying in the UK any longer, Meghan. And over the past couple of weeks I've been reading a book. It's called Traitor King, and it's about Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson. I absolutely love reading accounts of history, and I've got to say, there is so much in common with what's happening with what Harry is doing to King Charles. So when King Edward VIII left Britain after he abdicated the throne, he was made to leave immediately. So apparently Edward ended up feeling very anxious and depressed. And apparently Wallis was all upset because Edward had stopping the king because he loved her so much, because in fact she wasn't really in love with him. But you know, she never should have let things go that far. Apparently Wallis Simpson, like Meghan, really wanted to be a queen, so she stayed with a man who she didn't even love. But the fascinating thing to me was that Edward VIII called his brother every single day, sometimes more than once, at the palace, to whine about his situation and to have King George VI deal with his problems. Edward was not able to believe his brother, a beautiful king, quite unlike the childish Edward, wasn't gonna accept his calls at the very minute that he wanted to talk. Now, Edward didn't have a thing to do all day, so he just kept calling and trying to bother the new king. King George VI finally told the switchboard that he was not going to take any of his calls anymore, and that's the part that really stuck out to me. Harry should be mourning like the rest of them, but he's not. Instead, he's trying to bother a very sad and exhausted King Charles over stupid things like titles for his invisible kids and ranks and HRs. He's trying to annoy the king about wearing a uniform for his Netflix bosses. He wants to impress them, they're not. And he wants to be seen with the king, with William, and he wants to know if Meghan is going to get anything as well. Now, before she and Harry stepped down as royals, Meghan did her best imitation of Princess Diana, and one very good. But anyway, once they were out she began trying to emulate Wallis Simpson. Meghan is using the media to try to shame King Charles and the royal family. She's not the first one to do it, but my goodness, I hope that she's the last. And with King Charles and William now in charge, I would say the gruesome twosome need to be very careful over the next few days if they have any hope at all of keeping any privileges. Now my belief is that ship has already sailed for the two of them, and that's going to become obvious when the funeral is finished. It is so important that King Charles cuts off the traitors. He's got to cut them off, just like King George VI had to do with his older brother. King Charles has to cut off Harry, and that's all I've got to say on the matter now. Someone observed how similar Edward and Harry really are, and someone also made an observation about how Wallis has a lot more class than Meghan has, but both women, in fact, never loved the royal man who they married. And a lot of people are asking the really good question of why is Meghan not sent for those kids, and why hasn't she gone back to be with them? What could be the reason? I mean, every once in a while she does discuss being a mother. As a mother, I mean, if she sees any opportunity to talk about herself, you know she's gonna take it. she told that really stupid story. Oh my god, it makes me cringe to remember it. So why is Meghan not putting any statements out through her mouthpiece about how much she misses her kids? So that we know what a good mother she is? Or at the very least, why hasn't she sent out? Because you know what? My kids were too young to come along, so I had to make peace with that. I had to say my goodbyes in my own way. And nobody is gonna criticize Meghan for returning to America to be with her baby and her toddler if they're real. So in order of frequency she's staying to make sure she can argue her case when their titles and styles are announced. Yeah, I believe it. Another one is that she will not allow Harry to be by himself without her, in case they somehow get him back. Or the thing I believe the most, she doesn't have any real kids. See, Meghan does not have a maternal bone in her whole body. The funeral of her grandmother-in-law is more important than her children. Something doesn't add up. And of course, there's what Harry said, allegedly, that they want to shield the kids from the grief. That is such an odd statement. It needs some careful analysis. I mean, are the children not asking the question of why their parents are away for such a long time? What are they gonna tell the kids? Are they gonna lie to them because they don't want them to find out that some old lady who they never even met has passed away? Do they not want the kids to see them crying? Definitely. Nobody expects those children to attend the funeral anyway, but surely they could have them there so they could spend the week with them. We have not seen the Wales kids at all and we're not asking to, but we know that they are being cared for very well and I'm sure that their parents are letting them see their grief. So what do you think? Do you think maybe it's just a combination of all those options? Anyway, the people who I feel for are the real royals who tried to make Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip's final years absolutely beautiful. I can never forget how Harry and Meghan didn't get what they wanted. The Jubilee in June, so they ran away back to Montecito after spending a whole 2 days in the UK. Real royals would never do something like that. Just take a look at Princess Anne or Sophie, the Countess of Wessex. You can clearly see the grief on their faces. You can look at Prince William's face and you can see that he is torn up inside, and that's what this period of time should be about. What it's not about is what they can get out of this whole deal. And you, do you agree with this view? Please tell me what you think below in the comments section. If you think my video is helpful, please remember to like and share video. And don't forget to follow page now. Thank you.